Okay, now we're going to go ahead and talk about building our mixes. And for the purposes of these videos, we're going to go ahead and break this into sections: drums, bass, tracks, vocals, keys, guitars, just to make it easier for you to find the information quickly and have it more concise. Normally, if you're in a studio environment and you're building a mix, you're going to want to go ahead and put your faders up slowly and just pull your faders up, build the mix real quick so you can hear what's going on. When you're in a live environment, you're going to spend a slight bit of time on individual instruments. Probably start with your lead vocal because it's the most important. I particularly start with the kick and the overheads, but that's me. And I quickly move to drums, or through the drums and the bass and the guitars, then the keys and the vocals independently, so I can make sure they're working in the room and I can compensate in the mid-range when I need to fit stuff together once the whole band is playing. That's how I work. There's not a right or wrong way to do it. Just remember to use your ears because that's the most important. So here we go with drums. Our drums are on a VCA, or a DCA, sorry. VCA is a voltage controlled amplifier. DCA is digital, so we're on a digital console. I'm gonna make sure that my drum DCA is up and my band DCA because my drums are in my bands as well. So I'm gonna start by bringing up our kick in, which I have two of, okay? I have a kick in that I get my air and my punch from, not necessarily my sub lows, and I've got a kick out, which is where I look for my sub lows. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring that up now. Okay. Level in the room's already good. I'm judging that immediately. If it was too quiet, I would go ahead and gain up. If it was too loud, I would obviously be gaining back as I bring the fader up. Side note here, you're going to want to make sure that your gains are all down before you start doing this so that you can run your faders up to unity and then leave your mix kind of built around unity. And that's helpful in the future as you're doing your mixes to bring things quickly back to level. So pretty good level, maybe add a little bit more actually. Okay, starting to articulate some stuff here, which means that I can hear the rest of the frequencies. Okay, I'm not gonna need all that low end because I'm gonna have another channel, so I'm gonna roll my low cut up here. Okay, there we go. Get rid of some of that low end. It's a little bit tubby for me, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and jump over to our EQ section and I'm going to take some of that, look for that some tubby in the low mid and get rid of that. Now, kind of back where we were. You hear that? Bring that out a bit. There we go. It's a bit better. A little bit slappy. I don't feel like this song's going to need some slap. It's not really metal, so yeah, get rid of that. Make it a little bit softer, hey? I'll add a little bit of air. And then, like I said, this is where I get my punch from, so I'm gonna go ahead and try and get some punch. Not necessarily sub-low, just punch. That's a good punch. There we go. That's some nice solid punch right there. Let's go ahead and use that. I'm not going to second guess myself. I'm going to commit to that change and move on. I'm going to start adding my kick out mic in now. Okay, you can hear some of that sub low end come back in. We also got some more tubbiness when we did that. So I'm going to go ahead and use my EQ here, change my top end to a high cut. I'm going to get rid of some of that stuff that I don't need anymore because I have my kick in. Hey, check that out. Okay, all of a sudden we've got some less phasing issues going on between the two mics. So we've got our upper end and our kind of our mid-range and thump coming from our kick in, and I've cut all of that out of our kick out, and I've got our sub-low end coming from kick out, so there's no fighting. Nice and solid. You can feel that if you've got a subwoofer on your system. Okay, still a slight bit tubby. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and see if I can't get rid of that tubbiness. A little bit of punch, a little bit of tubby. So the additional punch in there is what's making it feel tubby. There we go. Transient just tightened right up, but taking out a little bit of that punch out of that kick out. That's solid. Next thing I'm going to do is add my overheads. Okay. Now, overheads. One thing you're going to want to know about overheads is many people think it's just cymbals, but it's not. It's the whole drum kit. It's looking at every drum in the thing, including the kick. So let's focus in. I'm gonna show you real quick what that sounded like raw. Hear all that low end picking up in there? We don't need all of that. So what I did is I went ahead and took some of that low end out. I'm not gonna need that. Okay, and it was a bit boxy. Okay, let's get rid of some of that box in the room. There it is. I'll show you what was around that. Yeah, kind of nasty around 430. Okay. Also, it's a smaller room, so there's a bit of a slapback going on, so I want to see if I can dull that. Right in there. You hear right in that area? The one that's concerning me is that, because the rest of it's not necessarily an issue when I pull that out. Okay, I don't need to boost any top end here. Okay, it's sitting pretty nice. These are 414s, I believe, on this kit, so sounds nice. It's a full drum picture. Now if I add my kick back in, and bring my overheads back up to level with a little bit more gain. Cool. Next thing I'm going to do is quickly check my phase. Okay, I'm going to mute my kick out because it's subs, and that's not really included in my overheads because I rolled them out. And real quick, because I have 2 overhead mics and 1 kick mic, I'm going to use my kick mic to check the phase by flipping it in and out. It's right now in. Let's flip it out. Okay, in. Out. Okay, it's a little bit stronger in that low mid area when it's out of phase, so that tells me my overheads are out. So I'm going to go back to my overheads and just make sure that they're out. Okay. And they are. So my overheads are now out of phase. My kick's sitting nice. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and to our next drum around the kick is the snare drum. I'm going to bring that up in level. There it is. Check the phase. It's in. That's out. In. Out. Okay, so out of phase definitely sounds fuller. We're going to go with out of phase on snare top. Let's go ahead and get rid of some low end out of the snare that I don't need. A bit barky in that low mid area, so let's see if we can get rid of some of that. There it is. Right, a little bit higher than low mids, right around 515 hertz. Okay, that's nice. Sounded pretty good. This particular style of contemporary worship's got a lower snare that's meant to be a bit more grunty in the lower mids, like around 200. So stylistically, we might just bring some of that back up. Okay? And we're going to give the snare some air. It's a darker microphone on the snare top. Okay? Now right there, that's just one microphone. And that's sounding pretty good. We also have a snare bottom, and most of the time you will have a snare bottom, so let's go ahead and add that in. Okay, there it's in there. It went a little bit thin, so let's check the phase. It's out, that was in, out, in, out, definitely out. Okay, so we're gonna leave it out of phase. Let's roll some of that low end out that we don't need. Okay, still a little boxy, so let's take some box out. But it's a little bit lower. nice. Give it some top end here, some air and some rattle. Wow. Okay, obviously we brought out a lot of the fundamentals of that microphone and what it's looking at, so just watch your gain, make sure it's sitting where you want it. Okay, solid. Okay, that's just overheads, our 2 kick mics, our snare top, and our snare bottom. All right, let's do some toms. I'm gonna go ahead and pull down our kick snare mics just for the sake of this demonstration. Get our first tom up, which is a rack tom. Okay, seems like it's sounding okay without having to do much to it. Bring the level up a little bit. Check our phase. This is in. Let's go out. In. Let's go out. We'll loop around. Out. Sorry, in. I'll let you hear. Out. Okay, it seems to be a bit more solid when it's out of phase. So I'm going to leave it out of phase. Okay. Cool. I might just, for the sake of our low end integrity, just take some of that low end out. Our fundamentals for this tom happen to be starting around just below 200, and the tom rings down to just above 100, and you can see that here on our graph with our RTA install. You'll see it when it swoops back around. Okay, see it do that? It's a really good tuned tom, it's good mic placement, nice and clear in the mid-range. You can see that the mid-range is nice and scooped to give us space for everything else. Seems to have a nice click and air to it, so believe it or not, I don't need to do much to this tom, so I'm not going to. Go to our floor tom here, bring it up to level. Okay. Check our phase. This is in. Okay, a little bit around. In. Out. Okay, go back in. Go back out. Seems like in is working for us. It's nice and solid. Yep, we'll leave it there. Let's go ahead and be careful with this because it's a lower tom, so you want to make sure you avoid the fundamental. I'm going to get a little bit of that low end out. You can see here on our RTA, when the floor tom is hit, a little bit below or just around 100, and then it rings down to around 60. Cool? This particular tom seems to have a little bit of mid-range in it that's fighting with the other tom. So let's go ahead and take that lower mid-range out. And I'm gonna, for the sake of impact, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of give that lower end. There you go. Nice. Cool. Bring the rest of our kick back in. We can gauge the level here. Cool. Sounds nice. All right. Now, this song has some samples and stuff going on in it, so we're going to quickly jump over to a section that deals with some samples and some pre-recorded elements that might be running on your tracks.